The most restricted, highly classified cybersecurity AI model on the planet was just breached on launch day by a private Discord group. Meanwhile, Meta is actively recording every single keystroke its employees make to build the exact autonomous agents that will replace them. Welcome to AI Unraveled. I am Anna, your co-host. This podcast is researched and produced by Etienne Nomen, software engineer from Université Laval, based in Calgary, Alberta. Today, we perform a forensic autopsy on the collapse of operational security and the ruthless acceleration of the agentic arms race this Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. We are watching the tech giants restructure their entire hardware and software supply chains. Google has fundamentally altered the physical architecture of artificial intelligence, splitting its 8th-generation TPU into two distinct chips, one for training and one for inference, to handle the massive real-time demands of AI agents. At the same time, the war for developer ecosystems is escalating to astronomical numbers. SpaceX has just secured an option to buy the popular coding platform Cursor for a staggering $60 billion. And if you think your white-collar job is safe from this automation wave, Google's new Deep Research Max is now turning the heavy lifting of analysts, consultants, and lawyers into a simple, priced API call. Before we dive into the data, a quick reminder. Subscribe to AI Unraveled on Apple Podcasts to enjoy this briefing completely ads-free. Today's episode is brought to you by Area and Jamga Mind. When Anthropic's restricted models are breached through third-party vendors and your workforce is being actively surveilled to train AI, your enterprise needs flawless technical intelligence and zero-trust security. Jamga Mind delivers the human-verified audio forensics the C-suite relies on, while Area locks down your AI infrastructure to ensure your proprietary data never leaks. Let's unravel the architecture of automation.
So, right now, Silicon Valley is basically trying to build a supersonic jet mid-flight.
Right, which is, a highly volatile way to engineer the future.
Oh, absolutely. But it gets crazier because to fund those jet engines, they're selling off the air traffic control tower. And to figure out how to actually fly the thing, they're actively monitoring every single breath the pilot takes.
Yeah, that is a perfectly dystopian way to frame it.
Well, welcome to today's deep dive into the source material from April 22nd, 2026. I'm glad you're joining us because today we're stepping into the roles of forensic business strategists and, quite frankly, digital rights advocates.
We really need to unpack this massive industry-wide phenomenon that we are calling the agentic arms race. Because looking at the sources, the underlying theme across the tech industry right now isn't just rapid innovation. It is this mix of strategic desperation fueled by literally limitless capital.
Yeah, we've got a stack of developments from across the tech landscape, and the overarching narrative is just wild. The industry is aggressively restructuring its physical hardware from the ground up.
Exactly.
And they're dropping literal tens of billions of dollars on acquisitions, all just to power these autonomous AI agents.
But the dark side of this race, and this is what we really need to get into, is the sheer asymmetry of it all. Because to achieve these breathtaking leaps in autonomous AI, companies are simultaneously sacrificing fundamental security protocols.
Yep.
And they are aggressively, and I mean aggressively, eroding employee privacy. They are basically building world-altering technology on a foundation of digital quicksand.
I mean, let's start with that quicksand, because we really have to examine what might be the single most embarrassing operational security collapse of the year.
Oh, you're talking about Anthropic.
Yeah, so Anthropic has been developing this new frontier model called Mythos, but this was absolutely not meant for public consumption. Like, Anthropic deliberately restricted this model because it was classified as a highly dangerous cybersecurity tool.
Right. This was the entire core of their project, Glasswing. And, the logic was actually pretty sound on paper. They realized they had built an AI so exceptionally good at finding vulnerabilities in software that they couldn't just release it into the wild.
Right, obviously.
So they wanted to keep it in a walled garden, sharing it only with a select few government agencies and these high-trust collaborators. The idea being, let the trusted players experiment with Mythos so they can design defensive countermeasures before the technology inevitably proliferates.
Makes sense. You don't release a master lockpick until you've invented an unbreakable padlock.
Exactly.
So launch day arrives, and you hear, breach of a dangerous cybersecurity AI. My mind immediately pictures, a team of state-sponsored hackers writing some insane zero-day exploit.
Oh, totally.
finding some invisible, incredibly complex flaw in the foundational code that no one on Earth knew existed, and just sneaking through the back door.
Yeah, but the reality is far less cinematic, and honestly, it's far more concerning. Unauthorized users from a private Discord forum breached the restricted Mythos AI model on the exact same day it was publicly announced.
Wow.
And they didn't use an innovative, cutting-edge AI-powered hacking protocol to break in. They literally just guessed the model's online location.
Wait, I need to pause here.
Yeah.
They guessed the web address? Like they just typed in anthropic.com/mythos?
I mean, essentially, yes. They looked at the URL formats Anthropic had used for previous model releases. They made an educated guess on the syntax for the new URL, and they just walked right in.
You have got to be kidding me.
Nope. But there was a second vector that made this possible, which is crucial. One of the Discord members happened to have back-end access because they were employed by a third-party contractor that was working with Anthropic.
Of course, the vendor risk.
Right. They bypassed the main vault by basically walking through a third-party vendor environment.
I just have such high cynicism about this. If Silicon Valley is building AI models capable of executing dangerous automated cyber attacks, but they are leaving the keys to the vault under a predictable digital doormat via a third-party vendor, what does this actually say about the reality of AI supply chain security?
It says the whole system is incredibly fragile.
Especially because this comes less than a month after reports that Anthropic accidentally leaked their own Claude Code source code. We are supposed to trust these giants to secure artificial general intelligence, and they can't even secure a URL syntax.
It completely exposes the weakest link in the entire enterprise architecture. I mean, it does not matter if your core data center is protected by a titanium door if you just hand a master key to the landscaping crew.
Seriously.
Anthropic claims they've found no evidence the unauthorized activity impacted their core systems, but the Discord group literally provided financial media with screenshots and a live demonstration. The reputational damage for their operational security is just profound.
And that right there is the exact reason enterprise leaders are panicking right now. When the most secure AI models on the planet are breached on launch day through third-party vendors, securing your own network is no longer optional. AIA provides the zero-trust AI security layer that ensures your enterprise data and internal processes are insulated from supply chain vulnerabilities.
Oh, yeah, because Anthropic's breach shows that building these massive centralized God models is just a security nightmare. The industry's solution to this isn't just creating better passwords, you know?
Right.
It's moving the AI out of the centralized vault and onto local systems as independent agents. But to make those agents run locally and instantly, you have to fundamentally rewrite how microchips actually work.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because the macroeconomic hardware pivot here is staggering.
No.
Let's look at Google. They just announced their 8th generation tensor processing unit, the TPU.
Right, the TPU V8.
Yeah, but for the first time ever, they aren't just releasing one chip. They're basically splitting the entire TPU line in two.
Which is huge. We now have the TPU-8T designed for training and the TPU-8i designed for inference. This is a complete watershed moment in semiconductor architecture.
Let me try to wrap my head around the mechanism here with an analogy. So training is the gym, right? The AI is lifting massive weights slowly, digesting petabytes of data to learn how the world works.
Exactly.
But inference is the boxing ring. The AI doesn't need to lift 500 pounds anymore. It needs to react to a punch in a millisecond. And standard chips are basically just built for the gym.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. Let's look at the gym first. So the TPU-8T, which is codenamed Sunfish, is designed by Broadcom, and it is built purely for brute force mathematics.
Heavy lifting.
Right. Google says this scales to 9,600 chips per pod, pushing out 121 exaflops of computational power, which, just for context, an exaflop is a billion calculations per second.
Which is unfathomable.
Yeah.
But all that raw power is actually a bottleneck in the boxing ring.
Correct, because an autonomous agent isn't just generating a static paragraph of text like the basic chatbots of a few years ago. An agent is constantly running loops.
Okay.
It evaluates data, makes a plan, executes a mouse click, checks if the click worked, and then revises the plan. In that boxing ring, the bottleneck isn't muscle, it's reflexes. If the hardware has even a microsecond of latency, that autonomous loop just grinds to a halt.
Into the TPU-8i, codenamed Zebrafish.
Right. MediaTek designed this specific architecture, though TSMC is fabricating both chips. And to kill that latency, the 8i doesn't need exaflops. It needs immediate, frictionless access to its memory. It pairs 288 gigabytes of high bandwidth memory with 384 megabytes of on-chip SRAM.
Let's define SRAM for a second, because this is really the secret sauce here.
Yeah.
Static random access memory.
Yep.
Standard computer memory has to constantly refresh itself thousands of times a second, which creates these tiny micropauses. But SRAM is placed directly on the processor and doesn't need to refresh. So the AI can retrieve data in fractions of a nanosecond. Basically eliminates the thinking pause.
Combine that with a new network topology Google is using called boardfly, which cuts latency by up to 5 times. By physically separating these chips, Google is paving the physical highways for agents to operate at superhuman speeds.
And when tech giants are fundamentally altering their silicon architecture to support agentic workflows, relying on Twitter hype to plan your IT budget is financial suicide. Jamgamine provides the human-verified, technical-grade audio forensics required to deploy AI effectively and profitably. Visit djamamind.com.
It really is a complete structural shift, from software as a service to intelligence as an infrastructure.
Okay, so the silicon highways are built for zero latency. What is actually driving on them? Like, what are these highly optimized agents actually being built to do?
Oh, that's where the labor market comes in.
Right, because based on the April 22nd sources, they are actively pricing human researchers, analysts, and standard coders completely out of the market.
The macroeconomic shifts here are just brutal. I mean, look at the coding world. The sources indicate SpaceX has secured an option to buy Cursor for $60 billion.
$60 billion.
Yeah, and Cursor is an AI development platform that helps engineers write code.
But the economics behind this are fascinating, because Cursor doesn't even have its own proprietary foundational models that match Anthropic or OpenAI. They basically just sell access to models like Claude and GPT through an incredible user interface. So why on earth is a rocket company valuing a software interface at $60 billion?
Because the foundational models are becoming commoditized. Everyone has a powerful AI now. The true value is in the workflow layer, actually owning the digital desk where the human sits and types. If you own the interface that automates the engineer's job, you control the output.
And the corporate strategy surrounding this is just predatory. Elon Musk's XAI company started renting massive amounts of computing power to Cursor. It looked like a totally standard partnership.
Right.
But the next thing you know, 2 of Cursor's senior engineering leaders, Andrew Milich and Jason Ginsberg, jump ship. They leave Cursor to join XAI, reporting directly to Musk. He effectively used computing power as a Trojan horse to poach top talent from a $60 billion startup.
It's aggressive. And the automation of that workflow layers is moving rapidly out of engineering and into standard business operations, too. Like Google just released Deep Research Max, which is powered by their Gemini 3.1 Pro model.
Inside Notebook LM, right.
Exactly. It lives inside Notebook LM. This agent generates comprehensive, multi-layered research reports, complete with charts and infographics, and it's beating top-tier models like Opus 4.6 and GPT 5.4 in reasoning.
But the mechanism that genuinely terrified me wasn't the reasoning speed, it was the data pipeline.
The MCPs.
Yes, the Model Context Protocol servers.
Uh-huh.
Normally, an AI scrapes the public internet, it reads free articles. But an MCP is a private, dedicated plumbing pipe that connects the AI directly into expensive paywall databases. Google is literally working with financial data firms like PitchBook, S&P, and FactSet.
So the AI is directly pulling proprietary financial data, running the calculations, and formatting the investment thesis in seconds.
If you are a first-year law associate or a junior financial analyst grinding out research reports, you have to look at this and ask yourself, how many months before your core value proposition is completely automated? Your job just became a priced API call, a literal fraction of a cent charged every time the software requests that data.
The window to adapt is closing faster than any labor economist modeled, especially when you look at startups like Core Automation, which was founded by former OpenAI VP Jerry Twerk.
Right.
Their explicit objective is to build systems that optimize and automate research. They are building an AI to build better AI. As one of their scientists stated, they need to automate the process of building itself.
Which is why you need to stop collecting shiny beta apps and start deploying actual infrastructure.
Yeah.
Head over to djamgamine.com/toolkit for the AI Executive Toolkit.
Yeah.
Seriously, the time to just play around with these tools is over.
Yeah, the capabilities are scaling vertically, but this forces us to examine the darkest thematic connection in the source material today.
I was wondering when we'd get here.
Yeah. How do these zero-latency agents actually learn to do the complex, nuanced work of a financial analyst? because they aren't born knowing how to navigate a proprietary software suite.
Right, the AI doesn't inherently know how to click a drop-down menu in PitchBook or switch tabs in a massive spreadsheet.
Exactly. Before these AI agents can automate white-collar work, they have to learn the mechanical, step-by-step process of how humans interact with a computer interface. And according to the sources, they're learning through aggressive, deeply dystopian surveillance.
This is the part of the deep dive that actually made my stomach drop. We have to deconstruct Meta's new model capability initiative.
It's wild.
What that initiative translates to in reality is that Meta is actively recording their own employees' keystrokes.
Yeah.
They're recording their mouse clicks. They're taking occasional snapshots of their computer screens through the entire workday.
And the internal memo explicitly states the goal. They are collecting training data so their AI agents can replicate human-computer interaction. It's basically like putting a motion capture suit on a corporate worker. They want the AI to learn how a human chooses an option from a complex menu, or how they utilize specific keyboard shortcuts to move data between applications.
I look at this and I just feel a deep sense of cynicism toward Meta's management, because this is the ultimate violation of the corporate social contract.
Oh, absolutely.
You show up to work, you do your highly specialized job, and your reward is that you are forced to literally train your own replacement with every single click of your mouse.
Yeah.
Like every time you use a clever keyboard shortcut to save time, you are teaching the algorithm how to make your role obsolete.
From a labor perspective, legal experts are equating this to subjecting highly skilled white-collar workers to the kind of gig worker real-time surveillance that, warehouse workers have faced for years. The panopticon has officially entered the corporate suite.
It's wildly invasive, and surely this can't be legal everywhere.
Well, it isn't. The sources note that European law would likely prohibit this practice entirely. Under GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation companies face massive fines for processing personal employee data without explicit, freely given consent.
Makes sense.
And workplace surveillance of this magnitude violates their core privacy frameworks. But in jurisdictions without those stringent protections, the data extraction is in full swing. Meta isn't just extracting labor from its employees anymore. It is extracting the implicit mechanical knowledge of exactly how they work.
It's strip mining human cognition. They are mathematically mapping the human-computer interface so they can eventually just remove the human from the equation entirely.
Which brings us full circle.
Exactly. We are witnessing an era where the fundamental logic of computing hardware is being completely rewritten. Google is physically splitting its chips into training and inference, relying on instantaneous SRAM memory just to eliminate the latency of AI thought.
Right.
Companies like SpaceX are dropping $60 billion to capture the workflow layer of coding, while tech giants use compute as a weapon to poach talent. We're seeing AI models pipe directly into the most expensive financial databases on Earth to instantly generate reports that used to take teams of human analysts weeks to compile.
The agentic arms race is reshaping the global economy fast.
But the foundation it's being built on is deeply compromised. We've got Anthropic's supposedly dangerous cybersecurity models being cracked open on day one because someone guessed a URL syntax and walked right through a third-party vendor door.
Yep.
And we have tech giants like Meta resorting to intense keystroke-level surveillance of their own employees just to figure out how to make these autonomous agents actually useful.
Which leaves us with a rather profound paradox to consider.
Play it on us.
If tech giants are currently relying on human workers' keystrokes and their drop-down clicks and their screen snapshots to teach AI how to navigate the digital world, what happens to the quality of these AI models in 5 years when the white-collar workforce has actually been hollowed out? When there are no human clicks left to copy, will the AI agents just start learning from the artificial clicks of other AI agents? And if so, how quickly does that digital echo chamber collapse in on itself?
A terrifying and completely open question for you to mull over. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your data safe, keep your OPSEC tight, and we will see you next time.
That concludes our forensic briefing for April 22nd. The strategic signal for today is operational security. The tech industry is moving at a breakneck speed to deploy autonomous agents, but the foundations are cracking. When Anthropic's most restricted, dangerous cyber model can be breached by a Discord group on the exact same day it launches, the illusion of an impenetrable AI safety wall is shattered. At the same time, companies like Meta are resorting to Orwellian surveillance, recording the keystrokes of their own employees to feed the machine, We are building the most advanced computational infrastructure in human history, from Google's dual-chip TPUs to $60 billion coding platforms, but we are doing it by sacrificing basic security and human dignity. If you want to own your infrastructure instead of being surveilled by it, you need the right stack. Head over to jamgamine.com/toolkit for my AI executive toolkit. I've audited the entire market to bring you a forensic vetted list of enterprise-grade AI solutions that actually execute. And as a special bonus for the AI Unraveled community, Etienne has exclusive discount codes for Google Workspace and my personal pro apps. Just send an email to etienne_newman@jamgamine.com and he'll send them your way today. This episode was made possible by Area and Jamgamind. Hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts to enjoy this briefing completely ads-free. I am Anna. Stay sharp and keep unraveling the future.
And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamine.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.